Hello and welcome to How to Play Rummy 500, presented by GatherTogetherGames.com. This video will cover how to play the card game Rummy 500. The video will start with the general concepts and gameplay, and then get into more of the details for the game. The game is played with 2 to 8 players. With 2 to 4 players, 1 deck of cards is used. With 5 to 8 players, 2 decks of cards are needed. When playing with more than 2 players, each player is dealt 7 cards, 1 card at a time. The remaining deck is placed in the middle and the top card is flipped up to start the discard pile. When playing with only 2 players, each player is dealt 13 cards. The object of the game is to be the first player to play all his or her cards into melds. A meld is a set of 3 or 4 cards in the same rank, or a run of 3 or more cards in the same suit. Going back to the hand that was dealt earlier, I have flipped up each player's cards for you to see. In an actual game, you will keep your cards hidden from the other players. The player left of the dealer is first to play. A player's turn begins by the player either drawing from the deck or drawing from the discard pile. Player 2 chooses to draw the top card of the deck. After drawing, a player can lay down any melds if wanted. Player 2 does not have any valid melds to lay down. A player's turn ends with the player discarding 1 card. Player 2 will discard the Jack of Diamonds. Players will discard in a way that allows every player to see all the cards in the discard pile. Play moves to Player 3, who will draw from the deck. Player 3 does not have any melds to make and will end his turn by discarding the King of Diamonds. Play moves to Player 1. Player 1 draws from the deck, does not have a meld, then discards. Play moves back to Player 2. Player 2 draws the 10 from the discard pile and is able to meld a set of 10s. The melded 10s are laid down for every player to see. After melding, Player 2 will discard a card. Player 3 will draw from the deck and discards to end his turn. Player 1 will draw from the discard pile. Any card can be drawn from the discard pile, but all the cards on top of the drawn discard must be taken. Player 1 wants to draw the Jack of Diamonds and has to take all the cards on top of it. Using the drawn cards, Player 1 is able to meld a set of Jacks. Player 1 discards the King of Diamonds. Player 2 draws the 4 of clubs from the deck and is able to meld a run of 3, 4, 5 in clubs. Player 2 finishes by discarding the 5 of hearts. Player 3 draws the 2 of diamonds, cannot make a meld, and discards the 6 of spades. Player 1 draws the discarded 6 of spades to meld a run of 5, 6, 7, 8 in spades. Players are also allowed to meld cards onto other players' melds. Player 1 will lay the 6 of clubs down, indicating it is being added to Player 2's run meld. The 6 of clubs will stay in front of Player 1 as players keep all their melded cards. Player 1 discards the 3 of hearts. Player 2 draws the 9 of spades from the deck. The 9 can be laid down as part of Player 1's run meld. Player 2 ends the turn by discarding the last card in hand. Once a player has no more cards in hand, the round is over. Players will score points for the cards melded and lose points for cards still remaining in their hands. The kings, queens, and jacks are worth 10 points. The 2s through the 10s are worth face value, and the aces are worth 15 points when melded in a set, or 1 point if melded in a run. An ace left in a hand is a 15-point loss. Player 2 has a total of 51 card points melded and no cards left in hand for a score of 51 points. Player 3 has no cards melded and 48 card points left in hand and will lose 48 points for the round. Player 1 has 62 card points melded and 17 card points left in hand. Player 1 will score the difference of 62 minus 17 for a total of 45 points. The first player to 500 points wins the game. The ace is always low when used in a run. Once a meld is laid on the table, it cannot be moved or separated. A card being laid off must be specified to 1 meld and cannot be changed. The game is over when a player has no more cards in hand or the deck is exhausted and a player does not want to draw from the discard pile. A card drawn from the discard pile must be immediately melded. A player that has a meld in his hand is not required to lay it down. If a player has a meld still in hand when a player goes out, the card points are included as negative points when scoring. If a player notices a card in the discard pile that can be melded after a player has discarded, the player can announce Rummy. Then draw from the discard pile to the card that can be melded and make the meld. The player that called Rummy will discard to end the turn and play moves right to the next player. If 2 decks are being used, a set meld cannot contain 2 cards of the same suit. That wraps up how to play Rummy 500. If you found this video helpful, give it a thumbs up and get more game tutorials by subscribing to our channel, Gather Together Games. Thanks for watching.